Hello, and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey chapter
458.
It is the second day of the week, aka the special bean cannon workout. I'm feeling very good right now, very excited for this workout. But anyways, to the main subject matter for today, wasted potential. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because I'm going to leave very vaguely what this is kind of about in a certain sense, but basically wasted potential, particularly when you see it in others. I think that there is something quite disappointing when you see that, especially now. I'm at an age where there's still time left, but the time that you have left is very, very minute at this point. And if you're a woman my age, is all I could say about that. But you have a certain window, basically, and within that window, you kind of have to figure out life and or establish some set goals and or set ideas of who you are within the world and what you are going to presume out there into the world. And the wideness of this window is dependent on the person, of course, because sometimes circumstances can make it narrow or sometimes it can make it really large. Of course, as well, the idea of what they have the potential to do. So in this analogy, as time progresses, the window gets smaller and smaller. And it is interesting to see when you know somebody for a long time, especially when they have, you've known them for a long time, and you see that they have such a wide open window, but one thing leads to another, and then 10 years later, that window has shrunk down, and now you're getting to the point where if they don't go through the pencil hole that they have left, they're probably just going to be left behind, really, and stuck in some weird rut, but we'll get to there later. But the main thing about this is that's very interesting is just wasted potential in general, because I think that happens quite a bit, not even necessarily just in the, like, seeing it in others, but within ourselves. There are things that we personally think about, the hobbies that we didn't take all the way, the natural talents we didn't take all the way, those types of things that happen that for some reason, one way or another, we just never took it to the extreme that we probably should have. And the reasonings as to why you didn't. But in today's episode, we're going to be looking at that as well as from an outside perspective, looking at it upon others that you see the facts that they could have been so much more, but as well as some of the internal stuff where, why didn't I do this, and really try to expedite its part in my life because it could have changed my life and things like that, because I think it's a very twofold system, because I think a lot of people, like your parents, will see a lot of potential in you and all this other stuff, and they can only lead you to the water, you know what I mean? They can't force you to drink it. So it's a very interesting dynamic, particularly, and I just wanted to talk about that in today's episode. But with that being said, I will see you when we get to Mother Base.
All right, so started this day off with squats, which are pretty good. But anyways, back to the main subject matter for today. Wasted potential. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because I think that I was thinking about this in general when I was talking to someone about something or something along the lines. But basically, it sucks when you see this within yourself. Obviously, there are things that you could have done a lot of the time, but unfortunately life just got in the way. Something got in the way, or things that were out of your control completely got in your way. But of course, there are a lot of times where you got in your own way. And I think that that's the hardest one. The hardest pill to swallow is when you have something that is unique and you can take to the furthest degree that you can, but for some reason either take advantage of it, rely on it too much, or don't do anything with it and let it not come to fruition. And I think that happens a lot to people, but I think it also, you see this a lot with certain people, and it kind of sucks because certain people get stuck there. They get stuck in the what could have been. I have a friend like this. I'm not going to say exactly which friend it is, but they are smart. They aren't an idiot. They have the potential to put themselves into better positions into life, but because of one thing or another, of course, they are no longer really going anywhere. So because of that, I can see where the potential of what they once were able to do is just completely vanished. And it's a very shitty thing, because it's not like you can just sit there and tell them the world, because you can show them where to go and do everything, but the constraints, whether it be external or internal, mostly internal, you can't really ever really change that, no matter how hard you try, especially after the age of like 28. People are really dead set after that. Obviously you can change, but there has to be some type of catastrophic failure in order for there to be some type of change, or some type of cataclysmic like event in their life in order to change the person into whatever would make them decide, oh, hey, maybe I should capitalize on this potential that I have. But now at that point, you're looking at a point where you're just diminishing it and even broadening it out a little bit, just from your own personal friends, just seeing this from other people, where, let's say, YouTubers or things like that, where the potential of what they could have been just goes away because of money, fame, or popularity, or their inability to keep it in their pants, things like that, which can destroy people a lot of the time, or going down rabbit holes where all of a sudden they become addicts to whatever thing it is, and it's sad to see. It's a very much a cautionary tale, but nobody ever really wants to admit that they are the cautionary tale for others, and it sucks because some people do admit that, and they get that later in life. You hear the stories of like the 50, 60-year-old women who never had any kids, are living alone, and they're just kind of living. There's no real next level for them. There's no happiness in them. You can tell, and they always try to tell people like just a life, but it's not necessarily the best, and that there are regrets. You hear a lot of these stories from older people, but for some reason, the younger crowd just generally don't want to hear it for some reason. And it's very interesting because I think societally wise, we should be doing more to listen to those stories, especially the cautionary tales, whenever they understand that they have become that. And this wasted potential is also magnified whenever the person is talented naturally in something. They decide to not take advantage of the fact that they are talented in whatever it is, and just kind of lay on the wayside of just keeping the talent where it is, or never really working hard on it. But also as well, I can't necessarily only blame these people internally, because there are external forces that may or may not happen. Like, for example, money, or those who are around them, the people that they surround by, vices. Time really is the big one, but we'll get to that in a different episode in a certain sense. But the lack of awareness that can also happen, where they don't realize what they have is a special thing. What is it? Or just an idea of that they take the talent for granted. And there is the other side of you, the wasted potential of putting all this extra hard work and effort into something that is not going to go anywhere. But that's the other issue. It's like, you could be the best basketball player humanly possible, but if you're 5'6", there's no fucking way you're making the league. You're going to be running yourself into the ground. And it sucks when there are certain things like that where it's like just genetics straight up in your way. There's nothing much you can do about it. But at the same time, at least in that case, you're trying. And I think that at least at the end of the day is probably more of a thing. What is it? Makes it less of a depressing thing, where if you are actually giving it the effort, and just the things that are there that just naturally can't work out for you, don't work out for you, then that's fair. At least you gave it your chance. And that's still a cautionary tale in comparison, but in comparison to not taking advantage of it, not using what you have, the God-given talents, and just letting it waste away, is such a completely different contrast and stark nature to it. One is a sadness that you can understand and be forgiving for the person. The other is a damning sadness where you ask them what went wrong. Where did you not realize that you have this beautiful talent that you've decided to wither it away? And it's not even gender specific, because this goes across the board. Everybody can do this, and everybody can have this wasted potential. And it really is a sadness. And I hope that more people realize that they could possibly be a cautionary tale for others, rather than never realizing that, and then thus wondering what happened, and then going off the deep end and doing some crazy stuff, either taking their own life or doing something else also insane. Because obviously, if you find out that you've wasted everything that was given to you, it's not much to go off of afterwards. And some people just kind of go crazy.
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed, none. Exercises skipped, also none. Got everything in, thankfully. But anyways, back to the main subject matter for today. Wasted potential. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because I have a friend who I have seen this from. In fact, I have multiple, but there's one in particular that I think of when I see this. And it is very, I wouldn't say frustrating, because at this point it's kind of like, it is what it is. It's not even it's a foregone conclusion that there's not much we can do for this man. But it is a interesting idea because whenever looking at it and you have the willpower, the hope, the want, the ability to see the window of opportunities that they have throughout life, whether it is a God-given talent or actual brains or just ways of doing certain tasks. There are certain people that have proclivities into certain avenues that can make them be able to do basically whatever they want to. But whether it be something like a woman or drugs or something else in between that makes it so that that window becomes squandered, it's almost beyond saddening. It's almost like you're seeing the death of a person. They have become someone completely different. And it's kind of sad when you see that, especially because you can tell that realistically they probably realize underneath everything that's happened to them that it's there, that person is dead. Now they have to figure out a world where the potential that they once had is no longer the window that they have. Now they have a brand new opening that they have to go through, which is a completely different world because they are no longer the person that they were. Sure, they might have the similar aspects and traits that they had before, but the things that allowed the window to be so wide open have closed shut. Now you're working with a different set of skills, cards, and whatever. Specifically, the most important, which being age, because age is the one thing that always closes everyone's windows, regardless of whether you like it or not. Age is something that we can never really go against, no matter how hard you try. It is the forever mover, and because you cannot go against that, the window will always change no matter what. So even if, let's say, you have little potential, that little can still be maximized for the little bit that you can, but also at the same time that can go away relatively quickly depending on who you are and what you have, or what you have to offer for the world. Now, obviously, there are certain people that have life circumstances that make it so they can't do stuff, like freak accidents or things like that. But then again, that's the thing. Those things are freak accidents. They are fringe things. Hopefully they don't happen to you, but also at the same time, they probably haven't happened to you. Now, of course, there are some things that can happen in your life that might push you down for a little bit, but a lot of the time people can be pushed down and kept down by many of those factors that make it so that they end up wasting more time than they should have based on things that are only keeping them down in their head rather than in reality. Not to minimize that, but also that's just what happens. I think that weirdly enough, wasted potential is just something that you kind of just see all throughout life. And it's a very weird thing to acknowledge because it's like a weird sadness to come to that. And some people never realize that they had that potential in the first place, which is also just as equally as terrible because they might realize it later in life, or maybe they realize it subconsciously, but sometimes they just never realize, and others can see it, but they themselves don't see it. And really, what can you really do about that? It's just kind of like a damn, that's a shame, and moving on. And in today's climate and society, I feel like a lot of people are having that issue where they're realizing their wasted potential of what could have been is starting to close down on them or even have shut down on them. The amount of people that are in their 30s or 40s that are going to be single and have absolutely nothing to live for the next 40 years is probably going to be a fuck ton. Because they've wasted the potential of having a partner in their life because of whatever reasons they may have given themselves, whether it be on the male or female side. With the male side, it's slightly different, but even then, they might not have the trust that they once had because of heartbreak. So really, they might never be able to do what they always wanted to do. So that's kind of a different story for a different day. It's always interesting to me when thinking about this because then I like to think about myself, where the wasted potential I have. And I know I have a few places where I could have done better, particularly in like the job market and stuff like that. I could have done more to make more money, but also at the same time, I had a few setbacks, but I'm not going to excuse that. I'm not going to let that make the excuse for me. I fucked up a lot. I could have done more with my life than I did. but I'm trying to take advantage of what I have currently. And that's the thing. As long as you see the person that you see in front of you is trying to take advantage of whatever they have left, whether it be small, at least as long as they're trying and actually giving it a chance and trying for real, because a lot of people will say they're trying, but they're not really trying, then it is not necessarily forgivable, but more so along the lines of it should become more of a baseline for people than more so than the acceptable, like, oh yeah, good for you. Like, yeah, more people should be trying to maximize their potential. So it is just something sad to see, generally speaking. I hope nothing for the best of most people, you know. I very rarely hope that they don't succeed in life, but also at the same time, it's just part of the process. There's just going to be people who peter out, just don't do what they could do, you know. It's sad and it sucks, but it is what it is. But anyways, with that being said, tell me what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. Not necessarily random. This is probably one of the subject matters I would have talked about a long time ago, but I think this was a nice little time. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.